Today I Ate Well Again, a past life cook in another world. Written by Soonjin, narrated by a digital voice. Chapter 2, The Way to 5 Coppers. The business didn't stop at a one-day miracle or a fluke. The next day and the day after that, I walked the dirt road out to the Daeonyuk market with Chuno through the dawn dew. 10 bowls the first day just to test it, 20 the next, packed with confidence. On the third day, 25, crammed in until the pack nearly bent. Day by day, the pack pressed heavier on my shoulders, but strangely, my steps toward the market only grew lighter. My heart did too, light as a feather. Young, how many bowls are you even taking today? The iron pot looks super heavy. Chuno, hopping along at my side, asked with wide round eyes. 20, no, call it 25 to be safe. Whoa, 25? Can you really sell all that? Chuno gasped every time the number coming out of my mouth jumped up another 10. I had to admit it was funny, even to me. Just a few days ago, I'd been scraping the kitchen floor, worrying about what do I boil tomorrow morning so we don't starve to death. And now here I was, calculating how many bowls do I move today. I'd gotten pretty used to laying out my spot and working the market too. The pushy guckbap man who'd run me off that first day now watched me a little warily and gave me a grudging nod of the chin. And the noodle shop auntie next to me greeted me like an old friend. Aigu, barley boy, that bowl of weeds again today, 5 coppers. Yes, ma'am, same as ever, 5 coppers. My voice came out easy now. My heart no longer crashed and sank the way it had while I waited for that first customer. My menu was still simple, barley boiled soft, perilla and cilantro picked from the patch, and soy sauce. That was the whole of it, and yet people gathered back in front of my iron pot like they had a sixth sense for it. Hey, young man, you've got that thing I had last time, right? The one that settles your stomach. Ah, you mean the barley with the fragrant greens on top? Give me one of those, too. The customers didn't grill me about why my food was good. They just scraped their bowls clean, patted their bellies, and praised it. That sits real good in the stomach. Strange how it gets your appetite going. Honestly, the secret to the boom was nothing special. The folk at this country market in this age had never heard of washing the greens for a meal clean under running water, over and over, and soaking coarse barley and boiling it long enough to go down the throat easy. Not a basic they knew either. I just kept the basics of the basics that any cook keeps. Picking the grain over stubbornly so it wouldn't crunch with sand, working the flame so it wouldn't sit heavy in your gut afterward. That alone, on this rough market floor, made a bowl of food that was flat out on another level. The fourth day, the fifth day. Each time a wooden bowl emptied, I quietly counted in my head. 10, 20, 50, 80, and then the grand 99. Just one bowl left now, huh? It was the moment I scraped the last of the barley together for the final customer, handed it over, and took 5 warm coppers into my palm in return. Whoosh! Suddenly my vision spun, and the world felt like it had stopped in black and white. There was no loud sign, no thunderclap, no bolt of lightning. Right across my eyes, see-through blue letters drifted softly up into view. Condition met. Sale of 100 identical dishes confirmed. Reward granted. The trait seasoning tier 1 is now unlocked. Huh? What is this? A dazed sound popped out of me before I knew it. Chuno, wiping down the iron pot beside me, jumped and looked up at me startled. Hyung, what's wrong? Are you sick somewhere? No, it's nothing. Just got some dust in my eye for a second. No matter how hard I blinked, no matter how I waved my hand, the letters floating in midair didn't go away. They glowed, clear and bright. Then a second window rolled open with more seasoning. Tier 1 unlocked. Salt. You sense the perfect balance of saltiness. Soy sauce. You grasp the flavor of fermentation and its right temperature. Umami of Jang. Fermented paste. MSG. You draw out the explosive umami hidden inside any ingredient. By real-world standards, this counts as a perfect seasoning sense. I stood rooted to the spot blank. At first, I wondered if I'd finally cracked and was seeing things. But the more I turned it over, the more a wild joy came to a boil in my chest. No lump of gold falling out of the sky, no magic pouring endless white rice into a storehouse. Honestly, I liked it 100 times better that way. If fancy ingredients suddenly came spilling out of a dirt poor house up a mountain valley, you'd be a prime target for the magistrate's office or the neighborhood thugs in no time. But this was different. This wasn't a thing. It was a pure sense. The ingredients were still the same cheap stuff scrounged from this backwater market. I bought them with my money and prepped them with my hands. Only one thing changes: the absolute timing of seasoning, the thing that shoves a dish's flavor up from behind and makes it explode. Whoosh! In that instant, a rush of pleasure swept over me. It was like a dam deep in my brain bursting open. To be exact, a perfect gut level instinct carved itself into the nerves of my fingertips, tingling all the way down. I knew how many grains of salt to throw onto this coarse barley, and at what moment to bring out its sweetness. I knew where on the iron pot to pour the soy sauce so the fire smell would coat it perfectly. My past life self had learned this hard won sense with his body over 10 sweating years in a cramped kitchen. Now it had been turned into data and synced perfectly into this young Jang Chun Sam's body. Yeah, wow, this is the real deal. Try as I might to hold it back, the corners of my mouth crept up toward my ears. Hyung, why do you keep staring at the pot and grinning like that? It's creepy. It's nothing, Chuno. Something really good just happened. That's all. What is it? Did you find money? Something way more precious than money. Pack up quick. I'll show you something killer when we get home. The whole way home, I worked out recipes and costs like a maniac in my head: salt, soy sauce, umami, MSG. If I could control just these three perfectly, exactly as I wanted, then I wouldn't need a single slice of pricey meat or a drop of rich bone broth. I could hammer the feeling of insanely delicious straight into people's brains, making customers say, "Why does this place keep smelling so good? I'm full, but I want to keep eating." That right there is the heart of how a cook with no capital rakes in a fortune. The moment I got home, I started cooking the barley for that evening supper. Just a little, secretly, so Chuno wouldn't notice. The trait seasoning, tier 1, is now active. I pinched a little salt at my fingertips, less than a full pinch, the exact amount my new absolute sense called for. Shh. The salt settled over the barley like snowflakes. I drizzled the soy sauce in the usual single go around, but the moment of pouring was different. I poured it in that tenth of a second window when the grains were at their hottest, so the instant the soy sauce hit them, whoosh, they threw off an explosive smell. And on top of that, a fine, invisible thread of umami came off my fingertips and coated every last grain. Chuno, let's eat supper. Chuno lifted his wooden spoon without a thought and shoveled in a big bite of barley. Chew, chew. Then all at once, the kid's jaw stopped. Chuno blinked and slowly raised his head. Hyung? What, does it taste off? No, it's the same. It's the exact same greens and soy sauce over barley we had at noon. Chuno swallowed hard, looking back and forth between the bowl and my face like he couldn't believe it. But why do I want to eat it so insanely much? Something sticking and clinging in my mouth. It's like the food is licking my tongue. The instant I heard that rave, I didn't even smile. I calmly scooped my own portion. Right. This is it. This is perfect. The same cheap barley, the same greens everybody treats like weeds, the same Joseon ganjang, but an umami violent enough to fool a customer's brain and steal his appetite. I want to keep eating more. That instinctive craving is money itself. That craving calls tomorrow's customer, and that customer drags in 10 more the day after. No need for martial arts that fly through the sky. No need to stumble onto some lucky break in a cave. I have an iron pot. I have hands soaked in 10 years of grind. And now, on top of all that, the absolute sense of seasoning, system certified, has opened up. As the thoughts chained on, an electric thrill ran up my spine. If 100 bowls open basic seasoning, What opens next? 500 bowls? 1,000? Handling fire? Master of the knife? Just imagining it set the blood boiling hot through my whole body and made all 10 fingers itch. Chuno. Yeah, munch munch. Hyung. Remember a while back I said I'd make the most delicious bowl of food in this town? Yeah, but it's already the most delicious. Watching Chuno with both cheeks crammed full, I said it low like a declaration. I think I'll hit that goal a lot sooner than I expected. Chuno grinned, spraying grains everywhere. Obviously, my Hyung's the best at everything anyway. That one line, packed with blind faith, jabbed into my chest and made it ache in a way I couldn't explain. A shaky little business had started in a dusty corner of the market with 10 bowls of coarse, sand-flecked barley. Before I knew it, it had passed 100 bowls. And at my fingertips, an overwhelming secret art of flavor, one nobody else in this world knew, had just had its first seal broken. The moment business starts doing a little well, somebody always shows up looking to pick a fight. It's a truth that holds in any age, in any world. It was the same in my past life. The moment a few too many customers started crowding my snack shop, the merchants nearby would always spread some ridiculous rumor. I hear that place buys the cheapest ingredients. I hear it's filthy in there. Of course, here was no different. Hey, Barley Boy. It was the 6th day since I'd set up my spot at the market. The Gukbap man from the next stall over came at me with his arms crossed, a big frame like a mountain bandit, a booming voice. He'd been ladling Gukbap at this market a good long while, and he acted like he owned it. Don't set up so close to us. That cheap-smelling barley of yours is driving off our Gukbap customers. Shoot, get on, off with you. It was ridiculous. If anything, Gukbap thick with the reek of meat carried farther across the market floor. No faint smell of barley rice was chasing off anybody. This was plain turf bullying. He'd clearly gotten sore watching a few of his own customers come by our barley rice, but I didn't go red in the face and argue it out with him. Grabbing somebody by the collar and brawling here would only get me marked as a loudmouth around the neighborhood. It's the small timers who fight with their feelings. Yes, understood. I see the spot was a bother. Without a word of complaint, I picked up my pack and moved 2 stalls over. A spot with my back to the wind and a little more sun than the old one. The Gukbap man went swaggering back with a look that said, scared him off with one threat. Hyung! Chuno stuck out his lower lip and hauled the load along after me. His voice was full of grievance. Why'd you just move? We came out at dawn and claimed that spot first. He's the one throwing his weight around. Chuno, a merchant who wins by raising his voice loses in the end anyway. So we just take it? No, if we get his customers lining up in front of us instead, that's a real win. How? I set the iron pot down and grinned. With smell. The truth was, I hadn't planned to sell plain barley rice today. I'd already figured the Gukbap shop would come at me and that our menu needed a little change by now. Both were in the calculations. Last night, I'd cooled the leftover barley rice and pressed it firmly into rice balls. Then I brushed a thin coat of my special soy sauce over the outside, scattered on a touch of coarse salt, and added 1 notch more umami. Seasoning, Tier 1, sense activating. With the ability unlocked, my fingertips left no room for error. How salty to run the soy sauce. Where to scatter the salt so it hit the tongue first. How hot the fire had to be to coat them without burning. Not my head, my senses were shouting the answers. I set up a small brazier in one corner of the market, my back to the wind. I laid charcoal on it, set an iron mesh on top, and started grilling the soy sauce barley rice balls I'd marinated the night before. Sizzle! The crisp sound of soy sauce searing onto the blazing hot iron mesh rang out, and in that instant, whoosh! Riding the wind, the smell slammed straight into the middle of the market. This, right here, is the brute power of sweet and salty and fire smell. Salty soy sauce cooks down over charcoal and gives off an unbelievable toasted sweetness. A nutty sweet note that had been hiding behind the salt. Good sense doesn't stand a chance against a smell that primal. Why do you think street hot dogs, bunjapang, fish-shaped red bean cakes, roasted chestnuts, and chicken skewers sold like wildfire in my past life. Because half of it was the smell business. You eat it with your nose, not your mouth. Oof, what is that? What's that smell? Sniff, sniff. I'm losing it. Who's grilling soy sauce around here? The people in the long line in front of the Gook shop all flared their nostrils at once and turned their heads. Where their eyes landed was, of course, our brazier. It's that barley rice fellow over there? No, how does barley make a smell like that? Isn't he grilling meat? Sizzle. I flipped a rice ball once, making sure they could all see. Then I swept on another coat of soy sauce with the brush. With the soy sauce set over the fire one more time, the flavor deepened to twice what it had been. The golden brown surface caught the sunlight and glistened. In the end, one of the men in the Gook line drifted over to us like he was under a spell. How much for one? 2 coppers, crisp outside, hearty inside, crunchy on the outside, fills you up on the inside. A bowl of gokbap, heavy with meat fat, ran 10 coppers. This grilled soy sauce rice ball was light, and only 2. Nothing to think twice about. The man swallowed hard and had his coppers out on the spot. Give me 2 of them. That was the starting signal. Oh, me too. I was about to order a gukbap. Forget it, 1 whiff of that and I can't hold out. 2 for me as well. The gukbap line started going down like dominoes. First 1, then 2, then 5 or 6 of them rushing over at once to crowd around our brazier. The people who got their steaming soy sauce rice balls juggled them at the heat and bit in, and like they'd agreed on it beforehand, their eyes went wide enough to pop. What is this? The outside's salty and crisp, but the more you chew, the more that barley sweetness bursts out of the middle. Wow, this is insane. The fire smell soaked clear into the grains. I keep reaching for another. I meant to have just one before my gukbap, and now I'm starving. Honey, the kids would go crazy for this. Pack me 4. It happened in a flash. There wasn't room to set a foot down in front of us. Everybody packed shoulder to shoulder, while the gukbap shop sat empty with the flies buzzing. The gukbap man looked back and forth between his empty line and our overflowing one, and went redder than the brazier fire. He came storming over, huffing. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Business, I'd say. I answered without stopping my hands, flipping a rice ball at my leisure. You're the one who told me to move because of the smell, so I kindly moved over here where there's no windbreak. Telling me what I can cook on my own spot, isn't that a bit against merchant decency? Grr. The man's mouth opened and shut. However much he wanted to run me off, he had no grounds to argue. I hadn't broken a single market rule, and I hadn't grabbed anybody by the collar and dragged them over. Who was he going to blame? When his customers walked out of his own line, pulled over by a smell, even a man who looked like one of his regulars was avoiding his eye, our rice balls in both hands, as a perfect wipeout. Hyung, Chuno, sweeping the flooding coppers into a sack, jabbed me in the side. Small and secret, a voice only I could hear. Hyung, total landslide. I bit back the laugh, trying to break out, and whispered, Hey, don't let it show. A merchant only smiles in front of the cash box. The rice balls I'd prepared that day ran out before the sun hit its peak. As a bonus, the barley rice sold clean out too. The gukbap man, meanwhile, didn't move a quarter of his usual, and had to cover his pot and head in early with a face like he'd bitten a bug. On the walk back, with the empty pack on my back, Chuno chattered away beside me, thrilled. Hyung, did you see that man's face back there? He went beet red and couldn't get a word out. It cleared my chest right up. I saw. But you didn't get angry even once. You just kept your head down and grilled, and you completely won. Everyone in the market saw us. I shifted the A-frame straps and said it plainly. Chuno, what's a food seller got to fight about? Raising his voice. Make it so good people have no choice but to bow their heads and come on their own. I tossed it off, but once it was out, it sounded like a pretty fine merchant saying. Chuno seemed to take it to heart too, trailing along behind me for a good while, mumbling, Make it so good. And they come on their own? The moment we got home, I dumped the day's earnings on the floor. With the barley rice and the rice ball windfall on top of it, heavy coppers piled into a mountain on the floor of the room. I pulled out a wooden bowl and swept the coppers into it, stacking them neatly. Clatter, clink. A clear ringing metal sound filled the room. Our first cash box. At this rate, I'll have real money in hand far sooner than I thought. The real reason I was scraping this hard to save. That I hadn't told even Chuno. I just looked quietly down at the full wooden bowl. Where these coppers had to end up, I knew all too well. Across my mind drifted 5 collapsed grave mounds, left on some nameless mountainside like something thrown away. Thank you for listening. Chunsam's story continues. A market to win, a family to feed, and a promise he made on a mountainside. Today I Ate Well Again is available on Amazon. The complete trilogy in ebook and paperback. Kindle Unlimited members can read all 3 books for free. And the full audiobook is out now on Spotify, Kobo, and other audiobook stores. To find the books, search Soonjin, Soonjin, Soonjin.